What do you do when your gut says one thing and the numbers say another? In this episode of Thinking to Think, I explored data literacy as a life skill through the surprising example of the NHL and SAP using real hockey data to teach analytical thinking. But the bigger lesson is not about sports, it's about leadership, decision making, and knowing when to trust the spreadsheet, when to trust experience, and when to use both. With a simple framework called RINK, RINK, read the numbers, inspect the context, name the human factors, know and own the call. This episode shows why real world analytics beats blind intuition, but never replaces human judgment. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Thinking to Think. I'm your host, M.A. Aponte, also known as Mike Aponte. And today I want to start this with a scene. You are a coach. 1 minute left in the game. Your best scorer looks tired. The crowd wants the star on ice. Your gut says, trust your guy. But the data on the tablet says something else. It says his speed is down. His shot quality has dropped. Another player is creating better chances tonight. You have 60 seconds. What do you trust? Your gut, the spreadsheet, the moment, the numbers, the player, the pattern? That right there is not just a sports question. That is a life question. Because most adults do not wear headsets behind a hockey bench, but we all have the moments like that. A principal deciding on staffing, a parent deciding whether something is really wrong, a business owner deciding whether to hire, cut, wait, or pivot, a leader deciding whether to trust experience over evidence. Your gut says one thing, the numbers say another. So, what is the framework? That is what today is about. And this matters more than ever because the world is drowning in opinions, dashboards, hot takes, fake certainty. At the same time, analytical thinking remains the top core skill employers say they need. And I know in the past two episodes, I've been bringing up the World Economic Forum, but they are representing major employers. That's why I mention it. So don't shoot the messenger. However, the WEF did say 7 out of 10 companies now see it as essential. And here's the part I love about this episode's angle. SAP and the NHL are now using real NHL game data to help students build analytical thinking skills. In SAP's new business builders experience, students act like hockey analysts using real NHL data in SAP Analytics Cloud to study questions like shot angle, shot speed, and what really drives goal scoring. SAP says NHL game data can include just another 1.5 million data points per game. That is amazing. But here is the deeper critical thinking question. What should data lead? And when should instinct lead? Because the smart people make a mistake here. They think the choice is one or the other, and it's not. The best leaders do not worship data. They do not worship gut feeling either. They know what each one is good for. So today, I want to give you a simple framework, a framework you can use in sports, business, parenting, leadership, and life. I call it the RINK Framework. Read the numbers, inspect context, name the human factors, know and own the call. So, why does this matter now? We are living in a strange time. People having more data than ever before, but they do not always make better decisions. In fact, sometimes more information just makes people louder, faster, and more confused. A chart does not save you if you read it badly. A dashboard does not save you if you ask the wrong questions. A gut feeling does not save you if your gut is really just fear, ego, or habit. And that is why data literacy matters. When I say data literacy, and I need this to be clear. I do not mean being a math genius. I do not mean being some kind of coding wizard. And I do not mean spending your life in spreadsheets. I mean something much more practical. Data literacy means knowing what the numbers are saying, knowing what the numbers are not saying, knowing when to trust a pattern, and knowing when human judgment still has to step in. That is why I like the NHL SAP example so much. And I'm not really a big sports guy, especially hockey. No offense to all my hockey enthusiasts. That's a rough sport. So I have a lot of respect for you guys. In any case, it takes something students already care about, sports, and turns it into something of a lesson in real thinking. SAP says students are not just staring at numbers, they are asking real questions, interpreting visualizations, telling data stories, and making decisions based on actual NHL data. That is powerful because the lesson is bigger than hockey. It teaches something adults need too. Do not confuse having data with having judgment. The numbers can help you, but they cannot think for you. And your instincts can help you, but they're not always clean. So the real skill is learning how to combine them. And that is where leaders separate themselves in. So, and I want to discuss the false fight currently between data versus intuition. I said a lot of things, but now I want to break things down further. And I want to kill this fake argument first. People love to argue this. Forget the spreadsheet, trust your gut. There's books about that. And there's also forget instincts, let the numbers decide. There's books on that as well. And both of those are lazy. And I hate to say it. If you're listening to this, I do not believe any of you listeners are lazy because this is a critical thinking podcast. But I will say many people are. That's why those books sell. Because and also both are incomplete. Harvard Business Review put it simply, when facing a big decision, two things matter. First, can more data actually help you choose better? And second, what kind of problem are you dealing with? If good mental models already exist, use them. If the situation is new or unusual, instinct may have a bigger role. The HBR or the Harvard Business Review also make an important point. Intuition is not magic. It is often built from information and experience you already carry. And that is the key. Good intuition is not random. Good intuition is trained pattern recognition. If you have seen the same kind of problem 500 times, your gut may be picking up signals faster than your words can explain. But bad intuition exists too. Bad intuition is panic, bias, ego, wishful thinking, tribal loyalty, and emotional overreaction dressed up like wisdom. So, no, the answer is not always trust your gut. And the answer is not always trust the numbers either, because numbers can be incomplete, numbers can be late, numbers can be misread, numbers can measure the easy thing instead of the important thing. So, the real question is not data or intuition. The real question is what kind of decision is this? This is where our framework comes in. So, R, read the numbers. That's the first step. Before you trust your feelings, first ask, what do the numbers actually say? Not what you wish they say, not what supports your favorite story, not what one random stat says out of context. What do they really say? This matters because people are amazing at storytelling. That's how we've gotten history through the centuries. We can create a narrative out of almost anything. He just looked off tonight. She seems ready. We feel like the team is improving. I just have a sense this is the right person. Maybe or maybe not. Data gives you a reality check. If you're a coach, maybe the numbers show shot quality is down, turnovers are up, recovery speed is slow. Or another line is creating more scoring chances. If you're a school leader, maybe the numbers show one grade is slipping, attendance is tied to behavior, or the teacher's classroom feels strong, but student growth says otherwise. If you're running a business, maybe the numbers show your favorite product is not a profitable one. Your best employee is not delivering results, or your instincts about the market are behind what customers are actually doing. This is why reading the numbers matters, because data often tells us what emotion tries to hide. And the NHL SAP partnership gives the real world example of that. SAP says NHL teams already use the SAP NHL coaching insight app on the bench to make in game tactical adjustments. And SAP's classroom program asks students to explore real hockey questions like which shot types, shot speeds, and angles produce better results. That is step one. Read the numbers, but do not stop there because the numbers alone are never the whole game. I inspect the context. This is step two. This is where a lot of smart people mess up. They find one clean data point and treat it like it's truth. But data without context can fool you. Let's say the spreadsheet says a player's scoring is down. Okay, why? Is he hurt? Is he being defended differently? Did his line mates change? Is he taking harder shots from worse angles? Is he doing the dirty work that is helping the team in ways that simply stat does not show? And the numbers matter, but context tells you what the numbers mean. Same in life. A student grades are down. Is it laziness or is it something happening at home? A staff member seems less productive. Is it disengagement or are they carrying hidden workload no one sees? Sales dropped this month? Is the product weaker or did the market shift? This is why data literacy is not just look at the chart. It is look at the chart and ask what world created this chart. This is a very different mindset. Reading the numbers is the first move. Interpreting the numbers is the real skill. And this is why pure spreadsheets thinking can be dangerous because life is lived in context, not just columns. So after you read the numbers, ask, what is happening around these numbers? What changed? What is missing? What might this data fail to capture? This is how you move from being impressed by data to actually using it wisely. And this is step three. Name the human factors. And this is where instinct matters most because some things are real even when they are hard to measure. Confidence, fatigue, fear, trust, chemistry, morale, pressure, shame, momentum, readiness. These things are not fake just because they are hard to put into a spreadsheet. And this is where experience becomes valuable and what I offer to my clients in my consulting company. A good teacher can feel when a student is checked out before the grade drops. A good leader can sense when a team is near burnout before the numbers show it. A good parent can hear the difference between a normal, I'm fine, and a dangerous, I'm fine. That matters. This is why instinct should not be mocked, but instincts need to be named carefully. Ask yourself, is this instinct based on experience or is it based on anxiety? Is this trained signal or just strong feelings? There's a big difference. And that is what adults need to hear. Your gut is not automatically wise just because it is strong. Sometimes your gut is wisdom. Sometimes your gut is just fear wearing a crown. So name the human factors. What are the people's issues here? What are the emotional realities? What is not showing up in the data but still matters? That is not anti data. This is complete thinking. Now the final step. K, know and own the call. At some point, the leader has to decide. This is the hard part because the frameworks are helpful. Data is helpful, experience is helpful, but none of these remove responsibility. You still have to make the call. And once you make it, own it. This is where leadership lives, not in having perfect certainty, not in pretending the numbers made the choice for you, not in hiding behind my gut told me. Real leadership sounds more like this. The data points us in this direction. The context explains why. The human factors matter here. So this is the decision, and this is why I'm making it. That is clarity. And that is what people trust. Not perfection, not arrogance, clarity. That is why I like a hybrid model, not data alone, not instinct alone, a blended model. That's how I lead my own school, my teachers, and my students. MIT researchers writing in Harvard Data Science Review call this a human algorithm centaur approach, combining formal analytics with human intuition in a strong partnership rather than forcing one to replace the other. That is the future, in my opinion. Not a machine over human, not a human ignoring the machine, but humans who know how to use evidence without surrounding judgment. That is stronger, that is wiser, that is more realistic. A simple rule: when the data should lead and when the instinct should lead. And let me make this very practical for you. Let data lead when the pattern repeats. The information is reliable. The outcomes can be measured clearly. Emotions are distorting your view, or you are deciding based on habit instead of truth. Let instinct lead more when time is short, data is thin, the situation is new, human emotion is central, or the problem includes things that numbers cannot fully capture. Let both work together. When the stakes are high, the evidence is mixed, the problem involves people, and the decision needs both analysis and judgment. That is the sweet spot. And this is what I would tell students too. Do not become the kind of person who says, I'm just a gut person. And do not become the kind of person who says, I only trust data. Become, become the kind of person who can ask, what do the numbers say? What do they miss? What is my instinct noticing? Is that instinct trained or emotion? What decision can I explain clearly? That is data literacy as a life skill. So let's come back to the opening question. Your gut tells you one thing, the spreadsheet says another. You have 60 seconds to decide. What is your framework? Mine is RINK. Read the numbers, inspect the context, name the human factors, know and own the call. Because the goal is not to kill instinct, and the goal is not to worship analytics. The goal is to become the kind of person who can use both. The kind of leader who does not get fooled by feelings, but also does not get trapped by spreadsheets. The kind of thinker who can see patterns, question assumptions, and act with clarity when the moment gets tight. That is bigger than sports. That is leadership. That is adulthood. That is wisdom. This is Thinking to Think. I'm Mike Aponte, also known as M.A. Aponte. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay sharp.